called the default mode network. This is in the midline, and it connects parts of your cortex, which is the evolutionarily most recent part, to older, deeper sources of emotion and memory. And it's a hub in the brain. And the brain is a hierarchical system. And this is the orchestra conductor, as one of the neuroscientists put it. It's a regulator. So what happens in the default mode network normally? Well, it's very involved in self-reflection, self-criticism, worry. It's where your mind goes to wander. It's involved in time travel, thinking about the future or the past. It's involved in something scientists call theory of mind, the ability to imagine that another person has mental states and is not just a rock. It is involved in what's called the experiential or autobiographical self, the way we kind of take what's happening to us and connect it to the story we tell ourselves about who we are based on the past and the future. So it's, you know, if the ego...
Oh my God, you know that I've been back. Here I am.
Like a super rock star, a super therapist, a super artist, put them all in one individual, and then they come to you when you're sick. They can enhance your ability to trigger your own placebo effect. The placebo effect is real. 30 to 40% of all real medication, the ones we sell as real drugs, is placebo effect. If you have an individual that can trigger that, and that's all you have at that time, that's still 30 to 40% better than you had before. See, so what are the shamans doing? Notice what they're doing. They're really enhancing their capacity for cognition. Now what we're going to do in the next video is we're going to come back to the shamans.
This is how magic mushrooms, aka psilocybin, works in our brain. Once it's in our body, we start seeing a brain that is more interconnected. The memory, emotion, and visual information are all interacting with each other. What this actually does is it resets our default mode network. Our default mode network is basically in charge of autobiographical information, thoughts of others, thoughts of the past, and thoughts of the future. Essentially, it disintegrates and then reintegrates the entire network, giving us a rebooting effect.
Fungus. Some of them can feed you, some can kill you, some can heal you, some fungus. Some of them can feed you, some can kill you, some can heal you, some.
Happy Tuesday. So, if you read much into the history of psychoactive mushrooms, you'll find that the ancients thought that the mushrooms were delivered by bolts of lightning. It takes rain for it to be wet enough for the mushrooms to grow, which makes sense. But also recently I heard Paul Stamets talking about how the thunder invigorates the mycelium networks to also promote growth besides the water. Just thought that's really neat. Happy Tuesday.
probably know, Eleusis was a cult site near Athens on a plain. There's now a big lumber yard there the last time I was there. But anyway, it was this plain, a very fertile plain outside of ancient Athens, and they celebrated the greatest of the Greek mysteries there. They celebrated, it was a biennial, a twice yearly festival. In the spring, they would celebrate the lesser mystery. And this seemed to be a fairly local get-together of some sort, and probably a planting festival. But every September, for 2,000 years, people from all over the Greco-Roman world would come for the festival. Probably know Eleusis, cult at Eleusis, and the rule was, first of all, it was open to everyone. Men, women, free man, slave, everyone could attend. The rule was you could only attend once in your life. And so you had one shot at whatever this thing was, and you were sworn to silence. And literally, everyone who was anyone went to Eleusis to experience the mysteries. Herodotus, Thucydides, Plato, Aeschylus, Euripides, everybody. People would make journeys of thousands of miles. It was the wellspring of Greek spirituality. The problem is we don't know with certainty what the excitement was at Eleusis. Rule.
Probably heard the theory that the story probably heard the theory that the story of Santa Claus comes from shamans in the Arctic regions of Europe and Siberia. You know, the ones who entered through the chimney of nomadic people's yachts because the snow was piled up against the door, bearing the gift of the psychedelic Amanita muscaria mushroom that grows under pine trees after its toxins were filtered through the urine of a reindeer. Yeah, that part's a little weird. But do you know the theory that the story of Jesus may also come from psychedelic mushrooms? When the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered, a team of religious scholars was tasked with deciphering their meaning, one of whom was John Marco Allegro, the only agnostic scholar in the group. Unlike his colleagues, who all translated the texts to align with biblical canon, Allegro interpreted the Dead Sea Scrolls differently. He found that its authors, a group of cave-dwelling Gnostics known as the Essenes, were describing Jesus as a psychedelic sacrament that induced religious experiences. And, you guessed it, that sacrament was likely the Amanita muscaria mushroom. Allegro noted that the mix of Hebrew and Aramaic, in which the scrolls were written, used wordplay and double entendre, while omitting vowels. A word like Emera, spelled almost identically between the two languages, could mean word in Hebrew or lamb in Aramaic. The Essenes may have used this wordplay to confuse the Romans. Probably heard the theory of Santa
giving you some keys which have been given to me.